This is going to feel damn good in what is one of the biggest blowouts in Florida Gators history. The Florida Gators beat Long Island 55-0 to open the 2025 season. And baby, Florida Gators football is back.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And the Florida Gators open the season as 45.5-point favorites and covered that spread by almost 10 points in an absolutely dominant fashion over Long Island. And look, that was expected to happen, right? I mean, the day that this game got scheduled, I went out there and I said, oh, we have 56 people in here right now. Just want to say that. And that's almost the same number of points as Florida scored tonight. Just want to throw that out there. But when the Long Island game got scheduled, I said that, well, I think Billy Napier just wanted to beat the crap out of someone from New York. And they did that, right? They absolutely have 55 people in here right now. Perfect. And they did that, right? Like Florida shut out Long Island. They did what they should have done. Long Island shouldn't have scored. In fact, after the first drive, I remember being in the Twitter spaces, and after the first drive, talking about this game and saying Long Island's point total had shifted to over under 1.5 points in the game. It's not surprising that Florida destroyed Long Island. And we spoke about this leading up to this game. There was only so much to take away from this game, right? Like this game wasn't going to be what told you how good Florida was or how bad Florida was. I think this is one of those games where all the great things you can take if they're, I guess, one, recognized as happening against Long Island. You know, if someone's blazing by Long Island DBs aren't good, right? And so I don't think that part matters. But I also think that when you take into account, you know, he had a wide open receiver and he missed him, or he threw it perfectly on a line, like things like that, they do matter because if you have those opportunities, it's nice to know that you can convert on them. I don't care if you're, you know, mossing a Long Island DB. The Vernell third catch was sick. I'm not taking a damn thing away from that one. That's one of those catches where you go, yeah, it was against Long Island, but that was on his own. Like he was open for that. And he made the catch there, and that mattered. I don't think it necessarily matters who you play in situations like that. One thing that I did, and look, we're happy that Florida won 55-0. We're happy that Florida is 1-0 for the first time under Billy Napier since his first season. We're happy that Florida is probably going to start 2-0, right? Feel pretty good about next week. There are negatives, and we'll talk more about the negatives probably during the week. By the way, swampsignal.substack.com. We just started that. That's going to be where you can find my written content. We spoke about this earlier. I'll put a link in the chat if anyone wants it, if you want to join. There's free content. There's written content there. Landon Gosnell said VB3 is the truth. Go Gators. USF is the next victim of the swamp. Absolutely true. Looking forward to that one. But I'm going to put the... I'm going to shamelessly plug this link in there for swampsignal.substack.com. It is my written work covering the Florida Gators. We're going to have film study there. We're going to have a whole bunch of content coming your way 3 times a week starting this Monday. So I'm looking forward to that. But there were some concerning things, right? Like the offensive line, I don't think played well considering you were facing Long Island. I think that's fair to say. I don't think that's being too critical to say, hey, DJ Lagway shouldn't have gotten sacked on the first play of the game. Right. And look, I do think that DJ Lagway's sack against, or at least the first sack against Long Island, I do think was DJ Lagway's fault, which is something that young guys are going to do. Again, I think this game is the perfect reasoning, I guess, or the perfect evidence of why I spent all offseason saying I want DJ Lagway to get as many reps as possible, right? We had so many people that were like, oh, well, just keep DJ Lagway out until he's fully ready to go, until he's full go, until we're in games. And I kept trying to sound the alarm on that being an awful idea. Because it just made no sense. DJ Lagway is someone who is incredibly physically talented. There's no doubt about that. As far as the mental game goes, I do believe he knows what coverages he's seeing and what concepts beat those coverages. But for a young player like that, it's about recognizing them in the moment as they're happening, as you're on the field watching these things play out in front of you. I think that's what's more important for DJ Lagway. And he's got to clean that up. He's got to just continue to improve there. But this is exactly what it is. You just need reps. Honestly, I wanted him to come out in the second half, and I wanted him to play the second half, play the first drive of the second half. If you score a touchdown, you get out. But if you don't score a touchdown, then you keep coming back out until you actually score a touchdown there. I thought that would have been a great approach, just letting DJ Lagway get out there. And look, he finished 15 for 18. A lot of that was screens, right? A lot of that came off screens. A lot of those completions came off screens. And the thing is that DJ Lagway needs to develop the intermediate game and the underneath passing game, but also the offensive line. You cannot be giving up pressures against Long Island. And we could talk about this during the week when I get the actual all 22 angle, and we could talk about how Long Island attacked Florida's offensive line, because Long Island was throwing a bunch of things at Florida. We spoke about this on yesterday's episode of Locked On Gators, where I was like, look, if I'm Long Island, I'm throwing every crazy defensive look I can at Florida's offense, and I'm trying to attack them that way because I have nothing to lose. So I should be more aggressive. And so Long Island was doing that. They were blitzing, they were sending twists, they were sending stunts. They were trying to do everything they could to generate pressure on DJ Lagway. And here's the thing. It worked, and it shouldn't have. So that is incredibly frustrating. I think that when you talk about those two things are the two things I care most about. You talk about the offensive line, lost reps they shouldn't have lost. Personally, I thought Bryce Lovett looked really bad in pass protection. And if you're looking really bad in pass protection against Long Island, I worry about what you're going to look like in pass protection against Miami, Georgia, Texas. Like, I worry about what you're going to look like there. And I spent a lot of this offseason when talking about offensive line play and recruiting and just developing the offensive line. I spent a lot of time talking about Caden Jones, and one of the reasons that I loved Caden Jones is his athletic ability and how nimble he is. Because, and again, I have told this story before, but this past spring, I covered the New York Giants, and summer, I covered the New York Giants in person, and starting right tackle, Jermaine Illuminor, he mentioned that, you know what, playing tackle right now isn't about who has the longest arms. It's about, do you have the patience and the technical ability to operate in pass protection, because you're working on an island and you're more reactionary there. And I don't know if Bryce Lovett has that. I'm going to be honest. I do think that you got to see, first off, you need a larger sample size. Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon had an awful game to start the year last year and ended up being one of the most reliable offensive linemen on the team. Granted, that was against Miami. This was against Long Island. Rob S. said, do you think it was O-line's effort or Billy's offense just sucking? I think that the offensive line played poorly. Like, I don't care. Like, because that's another thing. People kept talking about the play calling. I kept seeing it on the Twitter timeline and in Twitter spaces about people talking about the play calling and going, oh, it's so boring. It's the same stuff. Good. I don't want to see you empty the clip against Long Island. Like, I spoke about this with Charlotte a couple years ago. You should be able to run inside zone against these teams and destroy them up and down the field. You're Florida. This is Long Island. Like, that's the kind of thing where I don't care that the play calling seemed bland. I don't care about the conversation of who was calling plays. I don't give a damn about any of that because it doesn't matter. Like, to me, that doesn't matter. The context is against Long Island. You should have pummeled them doing anything you wanted to. And look, eventually you did. Eventually, you really started humming and you got going, and DJ Lagway started connecting on touchdown passes. Hayden Hansen got one. Shout out our boy. He'll be back this week on Locked On Gators, either the Tuesday show or the Wednesday show. But we've been talking about this, and it just matters as far as doing your job out there. And you could talk about, the different play calling for Tramell Jones. Maybe that's because Tramell Jones was actually fully participating in this offseason. Maybe it's because Tramell Jones is just a younger guy and they want to get him more live reps in more live situations and let him work more there. Whatever you want to talk about. Honestly, I don't think that those are the things to take away from this game. I don't think really anything involving coaching is what to take away from the game against Long Island. I think the things that you take away from the Long Island game are the things that you did poorly. And you go, okay, why did they do that poorly? And we'll talk more about that in just a minute when we get back with this first postcast episode of Locked On Gators of the 2025 season. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands. There's just nothing like a college atmosphere, nothing like the swamp. But let's be real, actually getting tickets can feel like more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, price hikes to the last second. That's why I use Gametime. The app that gives the advantage back to fans is the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. So what you see is what you pay. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, just go Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, download Gametime today. And if you're a Locked On Gators fan and you're still paying full price for gas, stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Start earning cash at the pump today. You may use our limited time promo code football and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. So you can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas that you already needed anyway, right? Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using our limited time promo code football for a limited time 25-cent per gallon bonus. It's promo code football. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free, wherever it's in the podcast and on YouTube. And if you're new here, which happens a lot at the beginning of the season, I am Brandon Olsen, the host of Locked On Gators. We're here every Monday through Friday, and immediately following every Florida Gators football game, I am once again sending the link in the chat for Swamp Signal, which is where I'm going to be having written Gators content starting this Monday 3 times a week. That's the last plug, I think, for that. Maybe at the end, but for now, that's the last plug there. But I think the things to take away from this game are not, what play calling looked like. I don't think play calling in a game like this matters at all. I don't think decision making as far as should we go for it on 4th down here matters at all. I don't think those are the things that you're looking for, working for, or benefiting from in this game. I think the things you look for are, what is the decision-making process like from our quarterback? Which, in Lagway's defense, I don't think he made many bad decisions as far as actually throwing the ball. I think he put himself in harm's way more than he should have. Running the ball, he should have slid. Instead, he was taking hits. He took a sack that was a bad idea. Just no other way to put it other than that was his fault. He made a poor choice. And so things like that, I think you can take into account if receivers are dropping passes. Like Duke Clark had a drop pass that they're going to point out in film study, and they're going to say, hey, I know you're young. I know you're new. I know you're excited. When we throw you the football, look the ball in and then turn your head up and run, because that's exactly what happened. You could watch it. He started looking for where he was going to go before he caught the ball and dropped it. The most common drop, I think, especially for young players, is that. It's not, oh, this guy's got bad hands. No, a lot of the times you see these drops is just receivers looking up before. That's it. Those are correctable mistakes. I'd rather that than you just got stone hands, right? So I think those mistakes are correctable. I think the offensive line, again, I didn't like how they played. I think that there were times where guys lost reps they shouldn't have lost. Bryce Lovett had a bad day in pass protection. I said that. I don't think Austin Barber played particularly well. I think Jake Slaughter played well. I think Damian George played well. I don't think Najee Harris played necessarily well. He was one that when you threw twists and stunts at him, you got him. And that's not unexpected for a young player. Like I know he started last year. He's still young. Okay. And so that's not unexpected. touchdown pass to Hayden Hansen, like I mentioned. We'll get to talk about that. 3 catches, 27 yards, and a touchdown for him. Vernell Brown III had the insane catch down the sideline. Trey Wilson still not playing receiver. I was complaining about this all summer. I was saying, hey, you got to let Trey Wilson play receiver, let him run routes. And everybody was, oh, well, no, they're letting him do that. Obviously, we didn't see it. I don't know. I feel like if there's a time to break that out, if you're going to break it out, it's now. Maybe you think you're keeping your cards close to your chest. I don't know. I hated it. And maybe the biggest takeaway from this entire game, look, there wasn't much to take away from defense. That's why we haven't spoken about it much. The defense absolutely dominated Long Island. They had a first down on the opening drive, and they didn't get a first down again until there was a few minutes left in the fourth quarter. Defense dominated. They did their part. I think when you're more athletic than your opponent by an insane margin, I think it's easier to dominate defensively than offensively. I'll say that. So I think that's just what happened. Florida dominated on defense. That's it. Long Island kept trying to run quarterback runs and option plays, and it wasn't working, and it's not going to work. Again, Long Island is an FCS program that is bad in the FCS. It's not like you face like a Samford, like you face an awful FCS program. You were going to get destroyed there always if you're Long Island. You had a Jacoby Jackson fumble that can happen. Got to protect the football. Recovered it by Damian George, but you got to protect the football. Bryce Thornton had the first touchdown of the season. Like Florida dominated defensively. They should. Then we talk about special teams. And I do think that special teams is a bit of a test to know, or I guess to prove if you know football. Because, look, first off, Trey Smack missed 3 kicks tonight. He missed 3 kicks in all of 2024. I know that Trey Smack has misses throughout his career that people talk about and people bring up, but you need to recognize that in college, once you hit 40 yards, honestly, really like 36, 37 yards, it's not a gimme. There's no such thing as a gimme. Okay? Especially wider hash marks make those kicks harder, more angled, all that. There's no gimmies, but especially when you get there. And like Trey Smack has misses in his career that he should have made. The 39-yarder, I thought he should have made. The last year against Texas was like a 25-yarder he missed. There were plenty of kicks that Trey Smack, or not plenty, but there were a couple of kicks that Trey Smack has missed that he shouldn't have missed. But tonight, I think there was one. I think that the 57-yarder, no duh, he just hit his career-long 56-yarder, and he had the leg for the 57-yarder. He hit the upright. I'm really not worried about Trey Smack, okay? People want to harp on things all they want, but just know that, and I'm not saying Trey Smack is this amazing kicker. What I'm saying is that college kickers suck, and Trey Smack is one of the best. So it's as simple as that. It's really as simple as that. Trey Smack's one of the best kickers in college football. He had a bad night. I'm not excusing that. He had a bad night, but he's one of the best kickers in college football, one of the most reliable kickers in college football. He missed 3 kicks all of last season. Let's wake up a little bit and let's have the brain part of your brain actually work and figure this out. But I think that Florida overall, you did your job, right? You beat the crap out of a lesser opponent. And you did that while really the first quarter, you didn't look good offensively. So there's a lot to improve on for this team. And as Tony mentioned, there's a new holder this year. It's not Jeremy Crawshaw, it's Tommy Doman. There's a lot to improve on for this team, but overall, first game of the season, this is what you wanted. A 55-0 blowout, absolute domination of the Long Island Sharks. They're going to have a not very long flight, but they got their asses beat, despite all the trash talk that they wanted to try to get out there. I don't know what they were trying to do, but I don't know if they were trying to be oh, we're New York tough. You're in Long Island. You're not even New York City, bro. No one cares about you. clown show out there, just absolute clown show. Coaching staff, players, it's a clown show. So I will say that about Long Island. And the region itself, just awful. That's what I'm going to say about them. But you went out there and you did your job. DJ Lagway needs to improve. This is not a surprise. I know people talk about me hating on DJ Lagway, and I know that there's going to be people that go, oh, well, he went 15 for 18. Context matters, okay? He needs to improve passing. He needs to improve in that area. He needs to get better. And I am confident he's going to get better. But he needs to be out there playing and getting reps. That's really all it is. Like he's going to have his lumps. But the more he plays, the better he's going to get. And so I feel good about that. Tramell Jones being QB2 as a true freshman, beating out Aiden Warner, beating out Harrison Bailey. Hell of a job. Honestly, makes me question the evaluation process out of the transfer portal, but that's neither here nor there. We don't talk about that tonight. We can talk about that some other time. I think Jaden Ball looked like a demon tonight. Like he came out and was like, all right, this dude came to play. Offensive line needs to improve. Like there's things that need to improve. I'm not praising the team as much, again, because it was Long Island. You're supposed to destroy them in every possible way. The fact that you punted at all is kind of nuts. The fact that you kicked field goals is kind of nuts. But yeah, I think that overall, this was a good performance. I'm not saying that it wasn't all good. It's just I'm not going to praise you for beating the crap out of Long Island. I'm going to say good job. You did your job because that is your job. But there's plenty to learn upon, plenty to improve upon. And now you got USF on deck. That's it. Like that's all it is. I'm not killing anybody. I'm saying that there are things to work on. This is the first game of the season. That's why I am in favor of like I like to say, oh yeah, well, Florida opened the season with Miami. Florida opened the season with Utah. But as far as how does this team look, I like opening against an FCS team because then you kind of get to see, hey, if we're struggling in this area against an FCS team, we're probably going to struggle in this area a bit if we don't correct it right away. And so you see this offensive line, you see these things. Like I want to see Caden Jones at right tackle more. I want to see him out there. I think he deserves to be out there. And I think that, if Bryce Lovett doesn't clean up his play at right tackle, it's going to be pretty ugly. So I want to see that improvement from the offensive line. I want to see DJ Lagway get more reps. But those things are things that you just have to go out there and try to correct. Again, I thought Caden Jones, this whole offseason, I was talking about Caden Jones versus Bryce Lovett. It felt like it was kind of just Bryce Lovett. And I do think that Bryce Lovett has improved, okay? It was just a really, really bad game from him in an area where he shouldn't have struggled. And I think that the thing that he struggled with was his footwork just didn't look up to par. And if your footwork's not up to par, it's not up to par. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. But the fact that your footwork wasn't up to par and you were getting beat a bit by Long Island, not a great indicator for when you face these better teams. How long do you think it'd take for Billy to bench him if his play continues to be subpar? Honestly, I don't know. I think it matters about context. I think it matters about how confident they feel about whoever would be the backup right tackle. Don't forget, you were without Devin Manuel and Fletcher Westfall tonight. So you didn't have either of those guys available. Austin Barber and Bryce Lovett both played probably longer than the staff wanted them to. But I do think that, you can figure some things out at right tackle soon. We'll see how willing they are to do that because we sat through Damian George at right tackle for a season and it was really ugly. Maybe that was because you didn't feel you had anybody else. Maybe now you do. I think USF looked decent against Boise. How bad do you think we can stop them? I think Florida should destroy USF. I will say that I think Florida should absolutely annihilate USF. One, I don't think Boise State's going to be good this year. I hammered USF money line. It was ridiculous that they were underdogs. And two, I think with USF's offensive system is very similar to Tennessee because that's where Alex Golish came from. And I think that Florida knows how to stop Tennessee's offense because they do. Like Tennessee has never really gone off aside from the one Hendon Hooker year. And so I think that Florida knows how to stop that Tennessee offense. And so I kind of look at it and I go, okay, well, USF is worse Tennessee, which we can have another conversation some other time about Tennessee, but Joey Aguilar's weird. He had some good moments, but there were no moments where he really put zip on the ball. Kareem Lawrence, or sorry, I did not mean to put your government out there. Cam James is underrated. He is. I mean, we spoke about it. I feel like against Miami last year, he was one of your best defensive players. Do you think the Texas game will be tougher for us now that they have a loss already? I don't know. I don't know what to make of Texas, because that Texas Ohio State game, like, yeah, it was two good defenses, but the offenses just looked inept at times. And so I really don't know what to make of those games. But yeah, I'll say that. I really don't know what to make of those. But also, my general rule of thumb, week 1, throw it out the window. Like, weird things happen in week 1. It's tough to go, oh, like Florida State. Everyone talks about, oh, Florida State, they're back. I do think Florida State is much improved from last year. I think Florida State is better than a lot of people, myself included, anticipated them being. I didn't think Bama was going to be that good this year, though. I thought they were still going to be a pretty good football team, but I didn't buy the Natty hype or the SEC championship hype. And so I think week 1, you can kind of throw out the window oftentimes because you don't really know. And so for you to go, oh, well, you beat Alabama, that's a great actually, well, I don't want to use Florida State, Alabama to make it seem like I'm just bashing them. But like, let's see. I'm trying to think of another game that was close-ish that maybe, or like let's use Syracuse, Tennessee, right? Tennessee, or actually, this is a good one. Indiana and Old Dominion. Indiana beat Old Dominion 27-14. Does that mean that Old Dominion is going to be almost playoff caliber? Does that mean that Indiana is going to be really awful? Like, we don't know. It's week 1. Realistically, what's going to happen is that Indiana is going to go recognize where they failed, going to adjust and try to correct those. But the thing is, you can only do that for so long, right? Like, once you're a few weeks to a month into the season, you're kind of like, okay, like, this is who we are. And I think that for week 1, a lot of this stuff is just thrown out the window because it doesn't matter. We see it every year. A team that loses in week 1 makes a college football playoff, or a team that finishes in the top 12, we'll say. Maybe not makes a college football playoff, but now fits that seeding. Or a team that wins in week 1 ends up stinking the rest of the year. Week 1, to me, is not a great indicator of what you are or who you are, even if you're playing in Long Island or Miami like last year. I do think that it's a good indicator for some things, but for mostly, how good you are, I don't think it matters. I really don't. That's just my stance. Maybe I'm wrong. That's just the way that I think about it, though, is that football is a game of constantly making adjustments, whether that's play to play, drive to drive, quarter to quarter, half to half, game to game, week to week, whatever it is. It's a game of constantly making adjustments. And at a certain point, you hit it where it's like, all right, well, we can't really make any more adjustments. We've done everything we can. We just don't have the physical ability to make any more adjustments. That's the team you are. But for week 1, I don't know, like Alabama, I think the big glaring thing is that they played soft. And I don't think that you really improve from playing soft. It's tough to go from, yeah, we're a soft team, to, yeah, all of a sudden we want you to punch us in the mouth. That's tough. That's brutal. Florida State, they looked good. Can they sustain that? What's their depth like? We'll see. But overall, like Florida State, that was a great game for them. They beat the crap out of Alabama. They did. For Texas, I think they looked awful. I think they looked offensively inept. Ohio State didn't look good offensively either. Like, those were both two inexperienced quarterbacks, despite everybody telling you that Arch Manning's the greatest thing to ever touch a football field. He's inexperienced as all hell. You have no idea what he's going to look like. I just almost took out everything. You have no idea what he's going to look like. That was always the thing. My thing was never, oh, Arch is bad. It was always, I don't know what Arch Manning is. I'm not going to say he's good. That's it. I just don't get the hype around him. You have no idea what he is. So I think that, week 1, like Florida State looked really good. Alabama didn't. Does that mean that Alabama's going to be an awful team and Florida State's going to be amazing? No. It does mean that Florida State has a quality win on their schedule. Because even if Alabama underperforms, I think underperforming for them is like 7 or 8 wins, which is still pretty damn good. And so I think that it's a quality win for Florida State, regardless of how the season goes. But is it indicative of who's making the college football playoff, who's doing this? No, it's not. And I think you're wasting your time by having that conversation after week one. It just makes no sense to me. And so I think that that's what I take away from week one. Usually this time I'll take away Florida beat the crap out of Long Island, and Long Island deserved that. And I'm glad it happened. And I hope they lose every game for the rest of the season. That's my take on that. Thanks for Locked On Gators, your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free if it's in the podcast and on YouTube. We will be back on Monday at the absolute latest. Talk more Florida Gators football, and we will have Swamp Signal written content out on Monday. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI, and I'll see you all next time.